Hello, you guys. My name is Maggie, and I am from the Weller Center at Lehigh Valley Hospital. Some of you may recognize me from when I came into your schools and taught you guys face-to-face. Some of you may not, and that is perfectly okay. What the Weller Center does is we travel to a bunch of different schools, and we just teach different health programs. So I teach a lot of different things. I teach things like depression, vaping, drugs, a lot of different stuff, and I love teaching every single one of those. But for you guys today, we are going to be talking about anxiety. Now, anxiety is a really big topic. Millions of people all around the world are suffering from anxiety. It's a very common disorder that many people have to manage in their everyday lives. So we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about anxiety, what it is, the different types, and what makes anxiety different from just being nervous. We're also going to talk about some really positive ways to manage our anxiety to make it a little bit better in our everyday lives. All right, you guys, let's get started. All right, you guys, let's get started talking about anxiety. So I always love to start these off by defining anxiety. What is it? What does that word actually mean? Anxiety is when you have extreme fear and worry so much that it causes changes in behavior, sleep, eating, or mood. And this end part is kind of the key to understanding what anxiety actually means. This is the difference between anxiety and just being nervous. When you're nervous, it goes away after a little while. So maybe you're about to take a really big exam, you're about to play in a really big game. When you guys are nervous for those games or those exams, after you take the exam or after you play in the game, that nervousness goes away. So being nervous is only temporary. Anxiety is all the time and it interferes with your life. It causes changes. So people who have anxiety may have a really tough time sleeping at night. People with anxiety can lay awake in their bed for hours and hours because they can't fall asleep. They can't really just shut off their brain. People with anxiety also have a tough time eating. So people with anxiety can feel actually sick to their stomach because of all that nervous energy. And that can make eating really, really difficult because they actually feel nauseous or maybe they just have no appetite at all. Some people with anxiety even overeat. So people with anxiety can either not eat at all or eat way too much. And it affects your mood. So it can make you seem really moody, really angry, or maybe just really sad sometimes. So I want to go over the symptoms of general anxiety. So general anxiety disorder. And again, this is a medical condition. So if any of you think you have anxiety, if you guys have any of these symptoms, please talk to maybe your doctor, your parents, a teacher, or even go down to your guidance counselor so they can help manage your symptoms and help to treat you for it. Because anxiety is a medical condition, it is not just being nervous. However, being nervous is a symptom. So some symptoms you may have if you have anxiety: being nervous or tense. So you're nervous all the time, even when you shouldn't be, or you just feel tense, you're on edge, and you can't relax. You may have feelings of danger or panic. You feel like your life is in danger, somebody's coming after you, you feel like your life is falling apart. You may have a rapid heart rate, so your heart may beat very, very quickly because you're so nervous and so anxious all the time. Increased sweating, trembling, so your hands and even your body shake. Difficulty focusing. You can't really focus on your homework, you can't focus in school. It's because your body is distracted from having anxiety. It can be really difficult to pay attention and put your heart into your work. Insomnia. So insomnia is, like I talked about before, having a tough time sleeping at night. So you lay awake in bed for hours and you just can't fall asleep no matter how hard you try. Or maybe even digestive problems. So your stomach is always really bothering you. It's always in knots. You may go to the bathroom way too much. Or maybe you just have no appetite. Now, what I was talking about before is just general anxiety disorder, but there are other kinds of anxiety. So I want to go over a couple of them with you today. So another kind of anxiety is something called social anxiety. Social anxiety is a persistent fear of being watched or judged by others. So people who have anxiety, social anxiety, feel like everybody around them is watching you or judging you or saying bad things about you. Even people who are close friends and family, you just constantly have this idea in your head that everybody is watching you and thinking negative thoughts. And this can happen at any point. So it can happen at school or even after school activities where you're supposed to feel comfortable with like your teammates or other people in your clubs. And when you have social anxiety, it can be really hard to make new friends. Think about trying to make a friend when you have social anxiety. You meet somebody, and the first thing you think of is that they don't like you. They're judging you, and they're going to spread rumors about you or make fun of you behind your back. That's a terrible feeling to have. So imagine trying to go through life having social anxiety. Me, for example, my job is I go to schools and I teach kids for a living. So I do a bunch of presentations like the one I'm doing for you right now. If I had social anxiety, I wouldn't really be able to do my job because I would be in a classroom full of kids thinking every single one of them is making fun of me or thinking bad thoughts. That's what it's like when you have social anxiety. You feel like all eyes are on you and people are thinking really negative things. Another type of anxiety disorder is something called panic disorder. So you guys may associate this with panic attacks, and that is the key part of having panic disorder. It's sudden and repeated attacks of fear that last for several minutes or longer. So panic attacks are categorized by fear of losing disaster or of losing control, even when there is no real danger. So people who have panic disorder are going to suddenly have these panic attacks because they feel like their life is crumbling around them. Everything is going wrong. So people will suddenly have these physical symptoms. So the signs of a panic attack: you're trembling or shaking, your body feels kind of numb or tingly, you're dizzy, you're hyperventilating, your heart is beating out of your chest, you feel nauseous, you might get hot or cold flashes, or you may be even profusely sweating. Now, I've seen somebody have a panic attack once in my life. It was my sister back when we were a lot younger, when she was a teenager. She was in school and she was having a really tough time. She felt like everything around her was going wrong and that she was just screwing everything up. So one day when we were at home, it was so bad that it actually triggered a panic attack. And it was very scary to see. She got really pale, she was breathing so fast, and she actually even passed out. So it can be very scary when you see somebody have a panic attack. So if somebody has panic disorder, they have to be treated by a medical professional. So talking to a guidance counselor or even going to a doctor so they can treat you for those panic attacks and hopefully prevent them. Sort of figure out what's triggering those panic attacks and why they keep happening. So another type of anxiety disorder is called post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. So many of you may have heard of this, and most people associate PTSD with people who are veterans, people who've been to war or were in the military. It's a mental health condition that's triggered by a terrifying event, either experiencing it or even just witnessing it. So these symptoms can be flashbacks, nightmares, or uncontrollable thoughts about the event. Now, again, I mentioned most people associate it with the military or people who are in war, veterans, but that's not the case. Many other people can be affected by PTSD just by experiencing or witnessing a really terrible event. So, some people have been assaulted. Some people who have lost their homes to a fire, have been in terrible car accidents, or even witnessed a death. Those things can cause PTSD, and unfortunately, some kids have experienced many of these in their lives. So PTSD is a lot more common than you guys think, and it can affect anybody. Now, PTSD can be very scary because it can be triggered at any point in any time. So maybe you were in a fire when you were a kid, and you guys are with friends and somebody's building a fire or somebody's lighting a match. That fire could even trigger PTSD from your past. So you have to, again, like with panic disorder, you have to work with a doctor or a guidance counselor or a therapist to figure out your triggers, figure out things that are triggering PTSD, and try to avoid them in your life or minimize them. And guys, you are not alone. So anxiety affects so many people all around the world. It is one of the most prevalent mental health disorders besides depression. It is estimated that over 40 million people in the United States alone experience some sort of anxiety disorder in any given year. That comes out to 18% of the US population. Guys, that's almost a fifth. That's nearly a fifth of all people have anxiety. So this is a very common disorder. So if you guys think you may have anxiety, you're not weird, you're not crazy. It's something that affects so many people, and it's a medical condition. Just like cancer, just like the flu, it's something your body has no control over, and it can make you very sick. That's why if you think you have anxiety, you have to be treated for it, just like you'd be treated for cancer. If you had cancer, you wouldn't say, just get over it, suck it up, you'll be okay later on. No, you wouldn't do that. You would get treated so it doesn't get worse. Same thing with anxiety. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people turn to negative strategies to cope with their anxiety. So some people start using drugs or alcohol, thinking alcohol and drugs will kind of take the pain away and make you less nervous or anxious. Some people start self-harming, so nail biting, pulling out hair, or even picking at skin. So those are all negative strategies to cope with anxiety because you're just hurting yourself. I had a friend back in high school who actually had this problem. She was pulling out her hair because her anxiety was so bad. She would pull her hair out every time she was starting to feel anxious. And pretty soon she actually lost most of the hair on one side of her head, and she ended up having to wear a wig for several years. Some people isolate themselves. So think about people with social anxiety. They may have a really tough time making friends or being in crowds or groups. So they isolate themselves, make themselves feel alone, and that can make you feel even worse. Some people turn to eating disorders. Some people skip school. Some people even start cutting themselves or even turn to suicide. Now, a lot of people with anxiety also have depression as well, and that can be a very dangerous combination, and that's when many people turn to suicide as their only answer, and it is not the only answer. There are so many ways to help your anxiety in a positive way. Let's go over them. Alright, so some positive ways to manage anxiety. Now, these are not going to suddenly cure your anxiety, but these are ways to kind of help it in your everyday life, to kind of help you calm down a little bit and bring you back to normal levels. So one of the best ways to help manage our anxiety is talking about it. I know it's something you guys hear all the time, but it's for a good reason. It's because talking about it is one of the most effective ways of treating anxiety. Talking about it to a teacher, talking about it to your parents, to a guidance counselor. Just talking about it with another adult who can help you and understand the way that you're feeling. So if you feel like you may have anxiety, or you're kind of having some of those symptoms, or you're just having a tough time, make sure you talk about it with somebody. Do not bottle it up because that's going to make you feel even worse. Another way to manage anxiety is to exercise, getting your body moving. It's very effective because it kind of gets all that extra energy out of your body and help you feel a little bit more relaxed. So maybe think about joining a sport, so join soccer, baseball, cheerleading, whatever it is. Just get involved in maybe some sports at your school. And again, sports are not the only way to help with our anxiety. You can do other ways to exercise. You can go running, you can just walk your dog, go for a bike ride, swim, whatever it is that you guys like. Just find some way to exercise in something that's going to make you feel comfortable and help manage your anxiety a little bit better. Another way to help anxiety is to get involved with hobbies. Hobbies are excellent because they kind of distract you from everything and bring you that joy that you kind of need in your life. So whether your hobby is photography, you like painting or drawing, or you just like playing video games, whatever it is, find something that you guys enjoy that's going to make you feel a lot happier and help out your anxiety too. So for me, my hobby is I love playing video games and I love going to the movies. I go to the movies almost every single weekend when I can. So for me, that is my hobby. And when I'm doing my hobby, I just feel happier. I feel better and I actually feel a little bit calm too. Next is deep breathing. Deep breathing is such a simple thing, but it is so incredibly effective for people who have anxiety or even people who are having panic attacks. Because when you have anxiety, your heart is beating very, very quickly, and that's what's going to make you feel very nervous and on edge. When you do deep breathing, it slows down your heart rate and makes you feel so much calmer. So here's an effective tool to guide you through deep breathing. You can find this on YouTube. I'll actually put the link down below. So as the shape grows, you want to take a deep breath in. So take a nice deep breath and breathe out as it shrinks. So let's do one more time. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in. And then you're going to breathe out one more time. So you guys, I can definitely link this down below. There are other videos like it on YouTube, and they're a great way to guide you through deep breathing. If you do this long enough, it's going to slow down your heart rate, slow down your breathing, and make you feel so much calmer. And this can be very effective, especially if you guys are at school and you have no other way to help your anxiety. So if you're about to take a really big test and you're just absolutely freaking out, take a minute and just do some deep breathing to yourself. It's going to make you feel calmer and give you a lot more focus in your head. Something else you can use, there's an app that I found that is super cool. It's called the Self-Help Anxiety Assessment App. That is a horrific name, so they acronymed it as SAM. You can search SAM into the Google Store or the Apple App Store, and this icon is going to pop up. This is the app you can download. This is an app that's actually designed to help people with anxiety. It'll help you figure out what's causing your anxiety, so your triggers. It'll guide you through deep breathing. There's some mini games and plenty of resources and information to help you figure out anxiety and just learn a little bit more about it. So I highly recommend this app. Definitely download it if you think you may have anxiety, because it can be a really cool tool to just kind of add to your routine. Alright, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys learned a lot about anxiety in this presentation. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about the symptoms, the different kinds of anxiety, and kind of how to help manage it in a really positive way. So down below, I'm keeping the suicide hotline there. If you may think you are suicidal, you are thinking about harming yourself, please call this immediately. Talk to your parents, talk to a guidance counselor, and seek help as soon as you can. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next video. Bye!